Assalamu alaikum, my friends. I hope you're well. I just got a question from somebody very close to me to clarify the meaning of the word saum or sa'im, which is generally translated as fasting. And to clarify for the questioner asked me, they need clarity because they saw somewhere on YouTube that the word saum actually means to take a vow of silence. And of course, there's a verse in the Quran where, in Surah Ali Imran, I believe, where Sayyidatina Maryam, when she practices Saum, which we generally understood to be fasting, where the meaning there is that she took a vow of silence. So that word Saum is only used in two contexts, right? The one context is for Maryam, Sayyidatina Maryam, alayhi salam, that she took a vow of silence where she did Saum, but then the word is also used in chapter 2, verse 187, I think, where it refers to Saum as generally understood to be fasting. Baqarah 183, Surah Baqarah. So let me just share with you my thinking on the matter, because I think some people are, always interested in what is the right story here. Let me first preface it by saying that my own approach to taking or reaching an understanding of seeking meaning in the Quran is completely irrational. I don't follow anything of an irrational. I'm not driven by laziness. I'm not driven by being a modernist. I'm not driven by being a Shi'i. I'm not driven by conforming with the people and agreeing with my parents. And I am driven by what is the meaning in the Quran. And how do you get to the meaning is you read the lines and you compare you can reach the meaning by looking at the word in context. And that's the best way of getting a meaning, right? So that is the way I will follow. That's the procedure I will follow to come to a meaning. Now let me take you to this word quickly. And of course, I have it here on the right, on the left screen. I have what is called Qur'anmorphology.com. Very, very, very amazing instrument, very good tool with which to reach the meaning or to research the meaning of certain important parts of the Quran. So let me just quickly go there. I don't think you're going to see everything quite clearly, but I'm going to try and blow it up a bit so that you can at least see if you're watching on a bigger screen. Might not be easy on a small screen. But we at Surah Baqarah, verse 283, and this resource called Qur'anmorphology.com, you can see there on the top. Anyone can access this on the internet. It breaks every single word down of the Quran. It's a very, very intensive accomplishment, what they've accomplished by every word of the Quran being spelled out in detail. So here's verse 283, and it is the one that speaks about Sawm ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyam. There's the critical word. Kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. Now the challenger to the traditional understanding, and I'm not sure where it is, I'm not even sure who's the person calling for this meaning, but like I say, I was just approached by somebody close to me and mentioned that what is the real meaning of siyam? Is it a vow of silence or is it fasting? So that is the verse in question, and the regular translation would be, "O you who believe, fasting is prescribed to you as it was prescribed to those before you, that you may be mindful of God." That's not my translation. I'm just using a translation that is given here on this site. Now let's go immediately to the word itself. The word, here's all the words. Ya, ayyuhalladhina. To the right hand side, all the words. Kutiba alaykum as-siyam. There we go. I'm going to blow this up a bit. There we go. We are now going to look at the actual word siyam. Now, this interesting website offers two immediate dictionary entries. It looks at Lane's lexicon, which is not a Muslim dictionary, but it is quite reputable. It's very reputable. I mean, Lane's dictionary is way better than any YouTuber, even an Arabic speaker, way beyond what that person's knowledge is of Arabic. That is what I'll say about Lane. The other resource is the Arabic Almanac. Right, so let's just look at Lane's lexicon. And the word is sama. This is what Lane's lexicon says. Sama and yasumu and siyam, istam. He abstained in an absolute sense. So the meaning of the word is abstain, abstinence, abstinence. This is a prime, you see, abstinence. Now today, in common parlance, if I speak to you and I say to you that, in Islam we preach abstinence before marriage. We preach abstinence before marriage. That is the lesson, that is the Qur'an's instruction. What will you understand by that? Will you understand a vow of silence? No, because in context it means before marriage, so it's something to do with sex. And by the way, it actually is a very commonly used phrase, abstinence before marriage. So it is abstaining from sex. So this Lane's lexicon, which is these are all the references. Lane's lexicon is not one guy thinking up meanings. It's one guy using all these other ancient books. Every time he uses an M and a K, he's referring to ancient books where this word is used. So this is a very, very reliable dictionary, Lane's lexicon, and it says here, it means abstain in an absolute sense. This is the primary signification. This is said to be the signification in the proper language of the Arabs. Another reference. And in the language of law, he observed a particular kind of abstinence. Okay, so the word sa'im or yasum or sama means to abstain. You abstain from food. Now, if you understand language is not language is a mixture of metaphor and other ways of expressing meaning. But context is absolutely important. Right? If I tell you that you must fight for your rights, I'm not saying you must draw a knife or a sword or a gun. You see what I mean? In the context of what I'm saying to you, it means you must exert yourself, go and argue and convince and, get what you need. So the word abstinence can be referred, obviously, to abstaining from food and coitus, which I said, so it is from sex, and from speech. No wonder the Holy Qur'an uses it to refer to Maryam alayhi salam taking a vow of abstinence, but in her case, contextually, it means from speaking. Right. And you see, again, I'm going to say what I just said recently and on another video, is that the Qur'an was revealed to human beings, not to zombies, not to robots, and not to monkeys. The Qur'an was revealed to thinking people. The author of the Qur'an assumes a level of intellect and intelligence that is more or less the media sort of what is the word? The median for an average human being. So if the Quran is saying abstain or sama, it would expect you to understand what type of abstinence it is talking about. Right? That's the one thing. Let's just quickly look at the other dictionary was the Arabic Almanac. Again, we come to the word Sama. Here we go. Let me just blow it up again here. Here is the word. Sama. To abstain from. To abstain from food, drink, or sexual. To fast. Saum, abstention. Abstinence. Fasting during the month. One of the 5 great fasts, Lent. Now, what is interesting in this dictionary is that even Christians use Christian Arabs, because remember, the Christians were Arabs before, the Christians spoke Arabic before the Muslims spoke Arabic. I want you to understand that the first Arabic speakers were pagans and Christians. Islam only came afterwards, remember? So those ancient Christians who spoke Arabic before the Muslims, simple fact, uses the word Saum to refer to Lent. Now Lent, we know what is Lent. Lent is abstaining from something. It is giving up something. It could be food, it could be smoking, it could be anything. So it means abstinence. So, and then the Jews use it during Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement, Saumul Ghufran. So that is also a Jewish term. Now let us go to the verses of the Quran, and then we can discuss further how this context reads. How do we understand the context that is under discussion here? And I'm just quickly looking for the relevant verse. Let me find the verse quickly. So we come back to the verse then, and the relevant verse is verse 183 up to 187, I think. Now let's just quickly read this, and then you, with your average human intellect, I want you to see whether you see abstinence from food or you see abstinence from speech, whether you see a vow of silence or you see an abstinence from food. I'm not going to tell you. You use your average intellect. If you're very clever, maybe it will be easier for you. Heed this, you who embrace the scripture. Fasting is prescribed on you as it was prescribed on those before you, in order that you may acquire a sense of consideration. In other words, taqwa. Now, let's say we replace that yellow there with, oh, you believe, embraces. A vow of silence is prescribed on you as it was prescribed on those before you. Right? I agree with that verse. It's fine. Maybe it doesn't really, the context could go either way there. Let's take the next one. It consists of a scheduled number of days, but for those of you sick or on traveling, it is a number of days at another time. So a vow of silence consists of a scheduled number of days, but for those of you sick or traveling, the vow of silence could be for any number of days at another time. Those who find that vow of silence strenuous should pay a ransom of food to an indigent person, but whoever does good over and above the minimum will gain even more, since a vow of silence is good for you if you only knew. I'm particularly replacing the meaning vow with silence, vow of silence. Now what we read in this verse is that if a vow of silence is too difficult for you, if you are sick or if you are traveling. Now, I want to, at this point, ask you, if you are traveling, what is more difficult? A vow of silence? It's almost impossible to travel with a vow of silence. How the heck do you tell the taxi driver where to go to? Okay, you have to write a note. But you know, what if somebody asks you what's your name at the airport? It's almost impossible to travel without opening your mouth and saying something. I'm just thinking, somebody that's traveled. So it's not difficult, it's impossible. But it would be difficult to travel if you're traveling with an empty stomach. Not impossible, but completely possible, but difficult. So I want you to, again, use your basic human intellect to think, Does a vow of silence or does fasting relate better? Let's go on. The month of Ramadan is the one in which the Qur'an was revealed as a source of guidance for humanity. It is also a source of clarification and a control over other books of guidance. Whoever therefore experiences the months, let him fast for the month. فَلْيَصُمْهُ. So a vow of silence, or let him give up food and drink and sex. For whoever is ill or on travel, there is an allotment of other days. God wants ease and not hardship for you, to complete the allotment and to magnify God because He guided you to show appreciation. Again, I ask you to use your intellect and to say, does this verse look like it is a vow of silence? When you're sick, you can't do it. When you travel, you can't do it. Personally, I think a vow of silence when you're sick is very easy. It's not even a challenge. I've been sick. When you're sick, you lie in bed. You don't want to see anyone. You don't want to. Nobody expects you to say anything. You can sleep all day long. So a vow of silence when you're sick, I don't think that's even a challenge. But again, I think in my average intellect, I would say that what would be stretching it is if you're ill and you still can't eat also. You know, when you can't even take in any nourishment, it would be a stretch. Let's just quickly skip that one. Then we go to 187. 187 says, it is permissible to approach your wives during the nights of vows of silence. They shield you from shame and you should shield them from shame. God is aware what you did secretly amongst yourselves. From now on, therefore, engage with your women sexually and desire that which God has written for you. Eat. Right. So again, a vow of silence during the day, I mean, definitely here sex is included. So it's a vow of silence and sex. So you can't say it's just a vow of silence anymore, because here the women and sex are brought in. But here comes the final nail in the coffin in my humble intellect. Thumma washrabu wakulu washrabu. Eat and drink. Now don't tell me the word kulu doesn't mean eat and drink, please. I don't want to hear that kind of level of madness now. Kulu washrabu means to eat and to drink. And there it says, eat and drink until it is clear to you that the dawn is broken. Then continue the fast until night time. Now, if you say here, eat and drink until it is clear to you that dawn is broken, then continue the vow of silence until nighttime. That thing would make absolutely no sense there. This verse would make no sense at all. My dear friends, the only way you can believe that this means a vow of silence is if you actually believe it. Never mind what the Quran says. You basically believed it before you started reading the verse, and now you're going to play around with the meaning to fit in with your preconceived notion. No, my friends, that's not how we study the Quran. We read the words as they are there. We don't invent meanings. And then we seek guidance from what we read on the page. And along the way, we use dictionaries and we use other resources to help us. But we are using our own intellect. But let me add to that. You see, I also have what is called Lisanul Arab, which is a very, very core essential dictionary. It's a set of 12 volumes. This is just one. This is just the meme. So the dictionary works on the last letter, so Saum would be covered in this dictionary. And if you look at the entry of Saum is obviously covered in this book. The entry is here, and the entry, you can see on top there, it stretches over 3 pages. And basically what I want to tell you in summary is that the same meaning that we get from those two other dictionaries, Lane's Lexicon and the Arabic Almanac, the same meaning comes from here also, which means all the dictionaries that we can get our hands on say the same thing, that so means abstinence. The context has to give you what type of sawm. Is it abstinence from food, sex, or from speech? In the case of the Qur'an, eat and drink from the time the dawn breaks until the sun sets, and then continue the sawm. Sorry, eat and drink until the dawn breaks and then continue the sawm. If I told you that, eat and drink until before sunrise and then continue the continue abstaining, would you say it means no talking? No, only in somebody that is lazy to use their minds will that be the meaning, my brothers and sisters. And just to be different, or just questioning or revising Quranic meanings because it seems like a nice thing to do is not the way that we build knowledge. That's not the way we build knowledge. So that's all, my brothers, on this topic. I hope you will do your own research and not follow whims and fancies, or anything that you think is thrilling or exciting or amazing or that makes sense to you in your head. We have to go to the book and then draw the meaning from there. Alhamdulillah.